Yo, I bet Tanner is holding up the SoFi Weekly because he's late. Don't you feel silly? Don't you feel silly? Look, it's just me and Roy. I was the first one in here. Roy got here maybe 5 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago, and everyone else is late. So, no, not me. Wow, Tanner late again. Why don't you ask any of the other guys?
I don't know. It could have been you. Like maybe you sabotaged them or something like that. So
Yeah. No, that's it. I sent people to Tevis's house to disrupt him from streaming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the SoFi Weekly Podcast. Special guest Roy at Crossroads or Cross_Roads on Twitter. Oh, fine. Now he gets here.
Hey, how's it going?
Sorry, I'm late. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're good.
Should I try this mic or is the audio fine?
No, I want to just talk about your shirt. That's fine.
What's wrong with my shirt?
No, it just looks like you're here to party. What's going on? Where are you?
I was at my dad's birthday dinner, bro.
Nice.
And I left early to come join you knockoffs.
I love it. I feel like I can see right through your shirt.
Yeah? It's because I'm on vacation, bitch.
Where are you?
I'm in Mexico.
What are you doing in Mexico?
I'm just having a vacation, man. Do you not like my shirt? You want me to change my shirt?
No. Everyone's here to see it. I'm happy you're here.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Happy you're
where's Steve?
Steve is running late, like you.
Fucking hell.
Your
his
shirt-
account?
Hey, whoa.
Your shirt may bring in more viewers though, so just keep that. Yeah.
Frick, we're live.
Yeah.
Tanner.
Be nice. Well, you can't come in late and expect us to not be live.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I thought we were backstage this entire time.
You see this the potty mouth that this guy how he talks to me whenever we're not live?
Okay. Yeah, my bad.
No, it's all good. All good.
I didn't realize we were live.
What, do you want me to change my shirt? I'm like, not now. What are you talking about? No, so how you guys doing? Tevis, there's been a lot. How do I transition away from it? You feel like you've just got caught doing something terrible. You just had a couple bad words.
I'll be Steve. This guy always smiles.
Yeah. No, but a lot of Galileo news, Tevis, and you being the prominent tech guy, I wanted some of your takes. And Roy, actually, if I'm not mistaken, SoFi is also his second largest position in his portfolio, larger than PayPal.
Yep.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
Recent change.
Wow. Okay. You're buying in the sevens.
Yes.
Understood.
And PayPal's kind of tanked really hard, like harder than SoFi.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah. If it's good buying opportunities, but if you hold before the tank, then it can hurt.
You tank with it, man.
Yeah. No, I don't know your full background on PayPal though, but you haven't are you a 3 digits holder? Like when were you first buying?
Oh no. I bought some maybe a month and a half before the previous earnings. So, this is 4.5, 5 months ago. And just a smaller position, was basically waiting to see who they would announce as a CEO because I liked John Kim. If it was him, I would have been happy with that. And when they announced Alex Chris, I had no idea who he was. And, of course, I saw the quarter 2 earnings. I thought were pretty expected, but the reaction, I was like, okay, I guess I'll add more. And so I added some more. And I had in mind that I'd get at least a 10% allocation. I actually did it a little bit more for PayPal.
Yeah.
I got greedy. And of course, all that's down. Like we I think this week set 2 or 3 new 52-week lows. Day after day after day. So I was like, all right. No, that's actually when you're not adding, when you're just kind of waiting, and there are some things that I'm waiting. Maybe we'll talk about PayPal later or now. But hey, Steve.
I apologize.
No, all good, man. I love how your camera was
You're not
perfect.
backstage. We're live, by the way. So just keep that in mind, Steve.
His camera was perfect, and then he adjusted it so he was down here.
But yeah, I'm down pretty far on PayPal, but it's a longer position, holding it at least through next year, and we'll see how it goes. And there are some things that, if there's a few things that I'd add to my position for, and a few things that I'd stop. But it's where I pretty much want it. But yeah, SoFi, man, when it got down to like the 720, 730s, when now we're back there again, I was like, yeah, I got to add more. So my 21-year-old son also established he did not have SoFi. He had been eyeing it. It's now his largest position. So
Yeah. I want to keep on you for a second. Whenever you're talking about SoFi, when did you first start getting into that? If you mind saying your prices and such.
Yeah, my first buy was I think around 465, and I bought some in the low fives.
Jeez.
And that's basically my position. So I added a little bit, recently here, but it was perfect timing for me. So I had, I was 90% Palantir, and I had mostly shares, but some leaps, and then those leaps went 600, 700, 800 times, and I've been eyeing SoFi for a while, and I was like, okay, if we get the one more time where after a really good earnings that it just tanks anyway, it goes up and then it tanks, I'm buying. And I had some extra money anyway on the side, but then I sold some Palantir. I sold one position that I lost entire conviction in, and I just was like, now's the time for SoFi. I'm loading up. And so it became my second largest position. Partly it wasn't allocation, like it was probably third largest at that point. And then we're down some, but man, it's up a lot from high.
You have to have high conviction though whenever you're buying on the way up, like 60% higher than when you last purchased, practically.
Yes.
So
yeah, no,
good for you.
It's a great long-term company. I mean, they're executing. I would be shocked if they fell at any point. It seems like over the last few years, and I've been following it since a little bit since they IPO'd, but I wasn't too interested in it. It's way overpriced for me. I didn't really fully understand it, and I didn't buy into Galileo right away when they acquired it. I'm like, yeah, it's interesting. Maybe we'll see. But as it got cheaper and cheaper, and then I saw an opportunity, I'm like, I'm taking it. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm in.
Good for you, brother. Steven, good to see you, my friend.
Sorry, Tanner.
Where's your microphone? Go find your mic.
I was in the middle of something when you called me.
Gotcha. Okay. No problem. No problem. It's just the SoFi Weekly.
I was finishing a heroic.
What?
I thought I would have enough time to squeeze one in.
By the way, everyone, that's World of Warcraft. Yep. Capital got to it first.
No, I am not grinding right now because it would not be fair.
But there's been a lot. This is both for Tevis and Steven, guys.
Wait, why is
Roy too? I don't know why I excluded you in that, but I was talking to you for a bit, so I want to hear from some of the other guys. There's been a lot of Galileo news today, in the past little week or two. There's been some exciting SoFi news that has recently come out. What do you guys think about all the stuff that's been going on lately?
I want to know why Tevis is dressed up.
Go ahead, Tevis.
I'm on vacation, and today's my dad's birthday, so I was at his dinner, and I just left that early to come up to my room and do this podcast with y'all.
Shouldn't you be out drinking and having fun?
That's what I'm going to do after this, and that's what I was doing a little bit before this. So
that's the prestige of SoFi Weekly.
He's having fun right now. Come on.
Yeah. I can put on some music. I don't mind.
No.
And after the market today, he's probably drinking too. So, I mean, he's good there.
Man, no comments. Yeah, screw that. It's okay. He doesn't watch this podcast. He won't know we're talking about him. Yeah, look, Galileo, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, Tanner, on the FinTech Frenzy, unless they've come out with more news. I made a video earlier today around the expense management in general. I think at a high level, it's just an enterprise staple that they need for a lot of these larger institutional clients. I think the 2 points that I want to reiterate is, number one, SoFi as a whole said they're going after bigger deals, and this aligns with that mentality of, if we're going after bigger enterprise clients, then we need to be building features that cater to those bigger enterprise clients. And then number two is the fact that SoFi is piloting their technology platform to a lot of legacy institutions. This could have even been an ask that came from those legacy institutions. And the ultimate takeaway, I think, is that Galileo itself, as a tech platform is becoming a one-stop shop to cover the end-to-end, you know, become this plug-and-play solution for all of their clients, whether it is fleet management, expense management, you know, buy now, pay later, through their APIs, whatever you have it, they can become a centralized hub with minimal interventions or minimal. If I were a client of Galileo's, I don't have to look elsewhere for additional services. Galileo covers it all. It's a one-stop shop, and I think that's the main takeaway here.
So I think for the most part, the payment risk platform was a product that we already offered. It was just 2 existing payment processing clients. I don't know how much you guys follow Shopify, if at all, but they started offering a product called Shopify Commerce Components, where instead of just selling, you know, the complete Shopify experience, they then sold APIs to just use parts of their store activity. So whether it was access to Shop Pay or front end APIs or back end APIs, there was a bunch of different aspects where for some companies they just needed one aspect of Shopify's business, and they weren't ready to completely let go of their other tech stack. This is what I think Galileo's opportunity is here, is that they have an option where they can go after clients that potentially aren't ready to completely give up their payment processing with their existing providers, but getting a feel for Galileo's products, seeing how well they're able to catch this fraud in real time, and using that technology might make it easier for them to make a larger switch later on. And I mean, that's just the way that I see it. But I think that that's just how it's going to be. What do you guys think? Steven?
Waiting for earnings. I want to see how much progress we made on those RFPs that Noto was talking about. And I want to see if we have new clients on the banking side. I mean, that's what I'm most focused at on the tech platform.
Right.
What is the I know that they've been in the pipeline for a while and looking at things with Galileo. What's do we have a read on how long that takes as far as them getting a good feel of Galileo and actually onboarding from previous clients? That's something I don't know.
So from what I heard, it's anywhere between 12 to 15 months for now, at least. It wasn't before. Supposedly it was much shorter than that, like 6 to 9 months. Now, supposedly the sales cycle has become so much longer that it's like a year to 15 months. And so we're seeing longer times, but hopefully much bigger clients.
Is that macro driven or is that tech driven, or do we know?
It's driven by the fact that these are dinosaurs you're working with, Roy.
Okay, that makes sense.
It is macro as well, though.
But it takes like 3 months, like on average, for them to even close a deal and even get to that pilot program. You know, the lead time to close that deal is so long because of the hoops that they have to run through. So these comments are killing me. But yeah, look, if we started something I'm not looking, Tanner. If we started a program in January, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we conclude with the results of that program by the end of this year. I think you're only going to start seeing the results of those pilot programs actually bearing fruit in mid 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, no, I do think it's a little bit of sales cycle-esque. There's been other payment providers that have come out. One that I actually covered today where Adyen was just talking about how their sales cycles are getting longer because people are much more price sensitive, and it's not just growth at all costs.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. I was wondering if you had seen that.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much what I've seen across every company that we're like looking at. Same thing with like Braintree and everything. And like the one cool thing, at least that Galileo has to offer, or at least lately, is they said before they were not even in talks with the big players. Like they couldn't even enter the room. Now that they've acquired Technisys, they are completely involved with a bunch of the conversations. They get to put their sales pitch in there. And I don't think we'll see a lot of that in Q3, but I think by Q4, we'll start to see which of those clients we've actually won. You know?
So then that would mean when they announce that contract that it may still be a bit for revenue, that they would they might be a quarter or two.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
All right.
But here's the thing is like, they don't really announce their partnerships. Like they'll say, hey, we got 5 new clients, but we don't know who those are.
Yeah.
So we don't know if the large financial institutions are on board right now or what's happening. But you're completely right. Sometimes they'll work with Galileo and start to only put maybe new customers through their card program before they actually transition legacy customers over, which for a lot of the large banks is the high majority. Like, you know what I mean? You probably have 30 million, 40 million customers, and then you might be seeing, actually probably way more than that, probably double. And then slowly starting to bring on new customers. But we want that, 50 million plus customers to transition over. That's really where the money is.
Oh, yeah. Well, the nice thing about the dinosaurs, they're slow to onboard, but they regard switching costs as something more than just monetary. Like they know, like if they're going to switch, it's going to take another year and a half. You almost have to have an executive change or a colossal failure for a company to do that. Once they've switched over, they're yours to lose, basically. So that's actually really nice.
I've been reading through a lot of the transcripts for SoFi lately. All like the old historical ones going back to like 2022 and 2021. And the way he was talking about the tech platform, it seems like everything is exactly how he spoke about it. And there was one quote in particular where he was talking about how these legacy players know that there's an extremely large risk being faced with these fintechs. This was a long time ago that he was talking about this. And that they're going to need to severely bump up their technology spend in order to compete with the new players that are coming in. And at a faster pace, they're going to increase their technology spend versus how much they're actually growing because of it. And now that's exactly what's happening. Like I was just watching all the calls with like JP Morgan and Bank of America, and their technology spend is just going through the roof right now because they need to stay on top of their game because they know it's their game to lose right now. Like they need to defend a very expensive castle. And so I hope, that $3.5 billion that Bank of America just said they're spending on technology is potentially half funded by Galileo. Perhaps not half, but hopefully we take a fraction of that. Like they're talking, their big thing now is AI chatbots and such. How do we not know that that's Galileo, Connecta, or I think that's actually a Technisys product, but I want to know a little bit more in terms of the technology platform because it's definitely this hidden gem within SoFi.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you have tailwinds with regards to regulatory requirements that these guys have to update their legacy stacks. It becomes a real problem if they're on legacy stacks and there's like an outage or something. Like you are starting to affect a lot of people with, if you have downtime or if you open yourself up to that risk. And so some are proactively acknowledging the fact that they have to update their technology stack. And then others are going to be dragged forward through regulation, kicking and screaming to basically update their technology. And so it's similar, like, why would you invest in solar? Well, because over the next 2 decades, like people are going to be phasing out, gas, let's say, for cars. It's a similar paradigm right now in terms of a secular growth trend with regards to the technology adoption from a legacy perspective to something more modern and plug and play like Galileo.
I did have a little piece of news that came out today for SoFi, if anyone's interested. It's very small, but I know there's a couple crazed SoFi fanatics in the chat. Speaking of fanatics, the merchandise and clothing company Fanatics will be sponsoring TLG for all their sports apparel and everything like that. And it's going to have SoFi's name plastered all over it. So if you really want some SoFi merch, go to your latest golf town and go get some.
That's actually pretty big. Michael Rubin's a beast.
I don't know. Is that for Fanatics, you mean?
Tell me you just said you don't know who Michael Rubin is.
I mean, maybe I do. Remind me. I can't think of it.
The inventor of the Reuben sandwich, I believe.
Move on.
The inventor of the Reuben sandwich. What is it, Steve?
Just move on. Don't ever speak about Fanatics again.
I don't know anything about them.
Oh my God.
He's the
Is it a
CEO.
golf thing or is
the
it a clothing?
CEO of Fanatics.
He's got one of the most legendary stories about his ruthlessness in business.
Okay. Are you going to say anything more about it? You make for good TV, you know that? You're really easy to watch. That's it? Okay. Yeah. Matt Money sends a membership over to Tevis. Keep it up. We don't need a minute. Oh, I didn't even realize what he was writing.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
We just had a call with Matt Money. That's going to go live on Monday, so that'll be quite exciting.
Yeah, for Stock Tank.
What?
For Stock Tank.
Yeah, Stock Tank. Yeah. Yeah, quite exciting. What else is there for SoFi news? Or if Stephen, if you'd like to talk about some PayPal, we can also do some of that as well.
I would love to talk about some PayPal.
So before we go there, did UBS initiate SoFi today? I saw a post on X that UBS initiated them, but I couldn't confirm this anywhere. I know Chris Hager posted around this other analyst upgrading SoFi to neutral from sell, KWB or something. KBW.
Yeah, that was KBW Investment Bank.
But I saw somebody in the SoFi community post that UBS started.
That would make sense because they did like 15 different, like it was just popping up all fintech. They were downgrading literally everything. So
there you go. The chat has it. Initiated them at neutral for $7 price target. I think that came out today or yesterday.
It was probably today because this is literally what I woke up to. UBS lowered price for Marqeta, Shopify, Toast, Visa, MasterCard,
PayPal.
PayPal. Yeah, that one's not even popping up for me. Oh yeah, I see it. Downgraded PayPal. Upgrades Block actually.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
They upgraded it to $70. Hey, out of everything.
Block and downgrade PayPal. Those people get their brains checked.
Yes.
Jesus.
$7 on SoFi, $70 on Square. Hey, I'll take it. Yeah, it was Lightspeed, $16. They just went through a fintech craze today. So yeah, $7. I wouldn't think too much of it.
Did you guys see, this is top of mind because I just made a video sort of recapping the news for this week. The Taylor Swift movie, dude, that became the highest grossing concert movie of all time. I think the second biggest October debut ever after like Joker in 2019. 92.8 million, I think it was in North America, just the box office, and like 124 million. And the craziest thing is this wasn't on the docket like 6 weeks ago. She just planned this super ad hoc, scraped together, minimal advertising around it. And somebody posted on X saying that they watched the movie. SoFi Stadium is everywhere. SoFi's logo is everywhere. She shouts out SoFi. It's just plastered all over the place. I mean, look, we talked about when The Weeknd released his album live at SoFi Stadium. This is another one of those artifacts that will live on, associated with the fame, not only that she has today, which is like cult-like worldwide, but even as that appreciates over time, that's going to become a staple. It's always going to be associated with SoFi. And I remember, and the reason why I think it was interesting was because over the summer when we were talking about the Taylor Swift concert, the biggest point of contention was the fact that, it's a nothing burger because she's only doing 6 shows at SoFi. And like, sometimes you have big artists doing like a month, at SoFi Stadium. And it was like a fleeting thing. Well, all of a sudden now it's not so fleeting anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I said it back then. I'll say it again. Anywhere she goes turns to gold. And you have to respect the hell out of her because wherever she holds an event, she props up the economy. She generates a ridiculous amount of jobs and she takes care of her people. I mean, giving everybody that worked on the Ever Store 100 grand and a personalized letter, class act.
Oh, I didn't even see that. That's cool.
Yeah, we gotta really respect her. Even if you're not a fan. I'm not a fan, but I respect the hell out of her.
She knows how to market herself. She's one of the best marketers out there.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Even the way that she released that film was like, I don't think they went through some publishers or whatever. They just went directly to distribution with AMC. So a lot of the profit is hers.
She
It's
has such a
insane.
loyal fan base. She can do whatever she wants.
So to add to that, by the way, I don't know if you said that, but it was all recorded in SoFi Stadium. If you said that, Tevis, the Taylor Swift thing. The weekend live at SoFi Stadium, you also said that. And then Beyonce's upcoming Renaissance Tour documentary is expected to have footage in SoFi as well, because she did 3 different shows there, and most of all, the show that she did on her birthday. So there'll be even more. And the thing is that if Noto's right, I mean, this is considered, or he likes to consider it, the 8th wonder of the world. They put $5 billion into building this stadium. It's going to attract by far the biggest performers. And so the naming rights for that theater was also the most expensive naming rights deal ever in history. Of course, we're going to see some benefits from it. So now I'm really interested in knowing the benefit that we're going to see from SoFi Center, the TGL golf course. That'll be quite interesting, and also probably very expensive. It makes me think that we're not going to break profitability in Q3, just in case there was some talk about that. Like, hey, is it still possible to get profitability in Q3? I don't know if we'll be paying the upfront costs of the SoFi Center, but I also don't think, I think the signing of SoFi Center shows that early profitability for the sake of it being on an earnings call is not Anthony Noto's goal.
How about this? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
It doesn't matter. It's not a benchmark anybody's holding them to. They never said that they would be profitable in Q3. They said profitable by Q4.
Well, it would be an upside surprise. I don't think that
100% would be an upside surprise, but if they're not profitable, it's not going to mean much. Unless they come out and guide that they're not going to be profitable in Q4, then they need to have a very good excuse why.
Absolutely, yeah. That's it's inevitable at this point, and it's what everybody's counting on is Q4. So yeah, if they come out, I think we'll probably see the same pattern as we've seen in previous earnings. But you know, who knows? But yeah, if they come out and they say, hey, not Q4, that's not going to be pretty.
that will definitely push people to think differently. But honestly, I think that the insane demand for personal loans, and knowing that we have like 70% contribution profit margins on that product, will lead SoFi to profitability. Like, I was looking into some of Noto's comments recently on credit card and invest product. Those 2 products, they're extremely not profitable. Like 75 million annually each. And so losses, just loss leaders, just to have the product, just so then we're considered a one-stop shop. We really shouldn't have those products at this current time.
I mean, like,
however,
they're also like the fastest growing products, so got to take it with a grain of salt too.
And credit card's not a fast-growing product for SoFi.
Invest is.
Yeah, Invest. It's the 3rd fastest growing product behind Relay and then Money.
It's free.
Sorry?
Well, Relay's free.
Nothing's free. They'll give you money to check your credit score. They'll give you money if you just check what they'll offer you with a mortgage. Nothing's free. They pay you for every referral, for everything. SoFi hands out money like it's crazy. But that's why there's been such a slow race to profitability, is because we've got sales and marketing budgets like crazy. I don't know. That being said, though, usually credit cards are some of the most profitable products for a bank, or in even like other financial institutions like PayPal, for example. Credit cards can be extremely profitable. And for SoFi, whenever that does turn around and they do actually get their credit under control for that product, it'll be very, very exciting. I'm quite excited that we will turn a profit on it, but those products alone, if we just didn't have them, we would be profitable. Do we want to? It's literally 30 minutes on the dot now. Do we want to pivot over to some PayPal?
Yes.
Steven, what are you doing with your money, my friend?
Well, I actually wrote an article tonight, and I think it's coming out Monday, but I put a bunch of statistics together. And I actually looked at my buy. So I've purchased PayPal 7 times since August. And my current price per share is $60.92. And going into earnings, I believe it's 11.1. I'm looking to buy more, and my goal is to get my share price down to like 58.50 or so and try to chop like 4.5%, 5% off of it.
Yeah.
And when I did, when I looked at the data, I'm going to share my screen. I think these numbers are going to surprise you guys a lot. They actually surprised me, and I knew they were going to come in around this area. But I mean, this is getting crazy of how the market, and I have a
Big zoom.
theory on why this is occurring.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
Can you see it good?
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. No, you can't. Hold on.
No, just shrink some of the. Okay.
There we go. So on a forward PE level, PayPal is trading like a freaking tobacco company. Like legitimately trading like a tobacco company. They're trading at almost just under 11 times 2023 PE, 9.4 times 2024, and 8.4 times 2025. Coca-Cola is trading at double the PE across the board. And PayPal has double the earnings growth of Coca-Cola. So you're telling me PayPal is a freaking consumer staple at this point? Like, get out of here. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And you look at where Visa is. Visa's trading at 27 times this year's earnings. MasterCard's trading at 32 times. I mean, you can't tell me, like, people seriously think something detrimental is going to happen with PayPal, yet they still have $2 billion they're allocating toward buybacks between this quarter and next quarter, or this quarter and Q4, because we're in Q4 now. I mean, it is insane what is going on, especially when you have all these analysts. This is not a small group. I think it's 44 for this year, 44 for next year, and 22 or 24 for 2025, saying that this is the earnings path for PayPal. And then when I looked at why won't it share like that? Hold on. And then when I looked at the price to free cash flow,
Which is skewed, by the way, because of the KKR deal.
God damn it. Hold on.
B-Dub says in the comments, in 3 months, Steve will be saying his goal is to get his PayPal position down to $48 average share for price.
Maybe.
But maybe,
Because-
yeah. But as long as nothing's changed fundamentally, who cares?
So right now,
It's even
out
better.
of those same companies, PayPal is trading at 16 times their free cash flow based on the trailing 12 number. Now, they came out last quarter and said they're going to generate $5 billion in free cash flow. When you change this to $5 billion, trading at 12 times free cash flow, that is insane. It is absolutely crazy. And it validates the PE metrics. This fair value, conservative fair value, is $100 to $120. You put this in line with a low 20-ish PE, 22, 24 PE, and a 22 time free cash flow. This is a company that should be trading probably realistically even without a premium between 120 and 140.
Right.
Like
Right.
the metrics just don't make sense. And I want to see what you guys think of this, because I have a theory of why this is occurring.
I know why it occurred, actually. I'm fairly certain.
Okay, so let's see if what I'm going to say is what you believe is the reason. I think that the market is taking what Powell is saying and extrapolating it into PayPal and thinking that the consumer is going to get completely screwed over the next 3 to 6 months because they're expecting a hike. Credit is going to contract again, and there's going to be less shopping, consumer sentiment already dropped considerably compared to where they thought it was going to come in at. They probably think we have a bad holiday season coming up, and that's going to hit transaction volume, transaction margin, and PayPal's numbers are going to be skewed. That's the only thing to me that makes any sense of why these numbers are the way they are.
I think you're giving them too much credit, man. It's like
Maybe.
almost as simple as like, hey, we're heading into recession. PayPal has a question mark, or an asterisk beside it. Let me just consolidate into what I deem to be safe, like the Googles or Amazon, like the FANGs basically, and ride out the storm because it's going to be less choppy than it is with PayPal, especially PayPal, because right now PayPal is like, it has a couple of quarters that are make or break. It has a new CEO. There's a lot of uncertainty. I don't need to know what Pal's saying. It's just, why would I take on that extra level of risk in this environment?
Because this is a deal that pays for itself.
I understand, but it is risk.
I think there are things going on in the back end that aren't affecting revenue right now that people know will be like a rug that gets pulled out from under the shareholders if people aren't paying close enough attention. So I don't know if this is what Roy is going to say as well.
Yeah, Roy, what were your thoughts?
Well, let me just finish real quick.
No. I want to hear Roy's thoughts.
Well, I'll let Tanner and then I'll jump in. So he's the host. He'll kick me. So, but no, I love your hate for Square. By the way, Steven, I love it. Your love for PayPal, your love for Palantir is like, man, we got a lot in common. I used to play World of Warcraft, by the way, in college. I can't do that anymore. It takes up too much time. But
dude, what type of class?
It's been too long, but it was a hunter.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Fucking hunt hards.
Yep.
Nerd.
Okay. Back to Tanner though, so and I'll jump in.
I did just want to say though that if we look at operating expense or even operating margins, that things look healthy at PayPal, but really they're kind of artificially being inflated because they're doing a lot of cost-cutting metrics, and that you really have to look a little bit deeper into the company's metrics of transaction margins to know that what they can't control is actually being quite diminished. And if that doesn't have a turnaround, if that does turn around, if transaction margins this quarter, which they're saying it's not going to, by the way, but by Q4, they're expecting it to increase again. If that increases, the stock price goes back. That's my belief. But it's that continuous deterioration that people are worried about. And I don't think Q3 is going to change that either. And I hope it does, but it's going to be a Q4 play, in my opinion. Now I'd like to hear Roy.
Yeah, it could change in Q3 just based on guidance and what Alex Chris says. That's the wild card. So don't know. I can never. I know that I'm pretty sure it's going to be a triple beat, and it could like be a beat down after that. Another like 10%, 15%. Who knows? But not too worried about that. Yeah. No. What happened is that somewhere along the way, and I'm not sure exactly where it happened. Maybe like 4, 5, 6 months ago, it ended up, and this was never in the news. So this is just me breaking news. I guess I mentioned it a couple of times on X. Western Union and PayPal just traded tickers. And so now what people think of PayPal, they're like, oh yeah, Western Union, it's been around forever. Nobody really uses it anymore. It's just lots of competition in that space. Margins are compressing. It's losing money over time. And they actually trade, Steve, you might be interested in this, at the same price to free cash flow. But the narrative is actually true with Western Union. It's not true with PayPal. But the real reason is, what you guys have been saying. It's the 3 M's. You have margins. That's the main concern. Net margins are looking good. They've inflected. Gross margins, that's the issue right there. I do really think that it's going to inflect quarter 4. They've mentioned that the past couple of times that they were coming. It was working on that. They've reiterated it's not happening on 3. So hopefully people understand that as we're going in. I'm trying to help get out the word. Hopefully analysts actually know that as well. But we'll see. But yeah, they're doing a couple of things. Really, there's some reasons for that. I broke down an article for that as well. But yeah, quarter 4 is likely, and if it doesn't happen quarter 4, it needs to happen quarter 1. Otherwise, I'm going to probably take some off the table. But yeah, margins. We have macro. That's a large concern right now, and that's a strong bear case that if we have a global recession or World War III, or both, I guess, at the same time. I don't think that those are happening. Maybe a slight global recession. We'll see. That'll hurt PayPal. It's a global enterprise. And then matchups. So the competition that they have, that's a lesser bear case. So there's plenty of of this to go around, and really the competition is not nearly as severe as people think. It's really margins and macro, but competition plays into that narrative a bit. There's a few other things that do as well, but once that narrative switches, we're going to see the opposite price action for PayPal at some point. But those margins, that's the most important thing. And as I'm looking forward to earnings for Q3, everything else could be absolutely fantastic. And if margins miss and they don't mention inflecting in Q4, yeah, it doesn't matter. That's the thing that matters absolutely the most.
Yeah, I completely agree. And sorry, I was just going to add that this is across the board for payments. Like payments in general are just getting an absolute beatdown, and so people are worried that this is just going, like, the pain's just going to continue. And it is macro based, but it's also just like the industry is hurting. I wanted to add though that sorry, I just blanked there for a second.
So while you remember that, I think one extra thing is like Alex Chris is also a question mark on the stock right now.
Oh.
Like, yeah, he has a good tenure, he has a good sort of repertoire or whatnot, but he could come out on the first call in a couple of weeks or 2 weeks and just say something stupid or something that's tone deaf or whatnot, and that could rub analysts the wrong way. It could rub institutional retailers wrong. Like, it's a question.
It rubbed me the wrong way.
Pinterest.
Sure.
If he mentions Pinterest, I was like, oh man, what are you doing?
there you go. And that's so it's just the more uncertainties you stack on top of this thing, then the more it's going to get beat down as a result.
I'm shocked that they're not getting acquired by somebody at these levels. I mean, it's a deal that finances itself.
Dude, I don't think nobody wants to make an acquisition going into 2024. Like, who want? Like,
but now's the time when you look at what you're paying for this company's earnings, for this company's portfolio, for the revenue it generates.
I know, Steve, but like, barring Apple and Google, like, nobody has the amount of cash on hand to fund that acquisition and have a healthy margin of safety when it comes to uncertainty. If there's some type of geopolitical conflict, if there is a global recession, like Tesla that has 20 something billion dollars in cash is putting the brakes on their Mexico plant to a certain degree until they see this smooth out. And you're like, well, wait a minute, a gigafactory costs like 1 billion, 2 billion. You have like 20 billion. So the point is that people would rather be overly cautious going into this uncertainty than be aggressive.
I did want to bring up, I remembered what I was going to say. So unlike what's happening with Sofi, where for the longest time they said, Q4 is when profitability is going to happen. That was the opposite for what PayPal had sort of done. They were kind of speaking, they were coming out and being like Dan Schulman was talking and saying 2023 is when transactional margins will improve, right? 2023. And then once we got there, they went, well, it's not quite, not in Q1, not in Q2, not in Q3. Q4 is when it's going to be. That is a stretch. And so people are like, one, he's already got forced out of the company. I mean, early retirement. And I don't think the board liked him. I liked him. But the truth is that he wasn't always right. And so they needed new management. But this could also completely change the company. Management does a lot for a business. And having young blood inside a what people would consider like a quasi a legacy player is going to be quite exciting.
Let me just say one thing and then pass it off to Roy on the actual like pushing off the margin. I saw this interesting thing on X earlier today around CEO departures this year, and it was up something like 300%. Like over 500 CEO departures happened this year. And the main question in the thread in the comments was like, what do these people know that we don't know? And the answer was they can see exactly what we can see. Like, nobody wants to be responsible for all of those declines if we go into this really tough economic period. And so it's interesting that Schulman was pushed out from the board. The Unity CEO was pushed out from the board. I mean, obviously different reasons and different timeframes.
Yeah.
but the timing is interesting given the year we have ahead.
Can you bring up Simon Nordos's comment, please?
You gonna read it for?
It's on the screen. So
All right,
something.
Okay.
I'll read it. Late night
Steven's
theory.
a slow learner in this game, eh?
Steve's not a showman. Steve's an article guy. So
Yeah.
I'll read it. Late night theory. We never have recession Fed and CEOs just talk about it's coming and we just slow down in anticipation for it, but it never comes for the next 5 years.
So and I can't find the chart because I have too many things on my desktop. Since 1963, you need 5% unemployment to have a recession follow within 6 to 12 months. We're nowhere near that right now. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen, but when you look at the CME Group Fed Watch tool, and you start looking at the percentages of when a pivot's going to come and what rates are going to hit, they actually have somewhat of a decent chance of increasing rates at the December meeting. I think it's like 32%. But the pivot looks like it's coming May, June 2024. And call me crazy, but unless something drastic happens, I don't think we're going into a recession. I really don't. Like, unemployment's just not there.
It would have to be Fed induced.
It would have to be Fed induced. Like, they would have to increase rates to where something breaks. You need people laid off. You need people not spending money. People are still spending money. Like, that is what's going to cause a recession. I don't see it happening right now. Everybody is employed. Everybody's still spending money. Whether if it's cash or on credit with a remaining balance, money's still getting spent. You need GDP to go down for 2 consecutive quarters. In that occurrence, people lose jobs. Things get much tighter. It's not. Look, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, Chris Patel had this really interesting post earlier today around his forecast in 2024. I don't know, maybe Tanner, you can see if you can find it. It was from today. Basically saying that there's a series of events that's going to transpire over the next 12 months. And it's going to start with the big tech earnings that are coming up next week around many of these CEOs, similar to Elon on Tesla, sparking fears and then leveraging those macroeconomic fears to have more rounds of layoffs, similar to what we had towards the end of 2022 and starting 2023, where we had just round after round of layoffs. And then from there, you're going to get less because people lose jobs.
Is this the one, by the way?
Yeah, you're going to get less spending. And that's when you're going to see shocks in housing. I mean, look, I'm of the opinion that the Fed, well, I can actually bring up the chart, but the predictions around the Fed cutting, the probabilities start to go up quite a bit in May, June, and July. So towards the summer. And
I'm bringing it up for you, Tavis.
Yeah, I think if, in fact, Chris is right, and over the next 2 weeks, if we have big tech earnings and these CEOs start to say, well, the economy is going to be really bad and we might have to do layoffs, then all of a sudden it might be rates might be cut sooner than we expect. Let me bring up a cleaner chart, actually.
No, this gives you every month. December, you have a 19% chance or 20% chance that we're going to get a bump. You don't start to get a pivot, or at least the percentage of a pivot, until March. 13% that you drop 25 bips. But in May, you start to really start getting it with a 34% chance, and then even a little bit of a chance you get 50 bips. Then in June, it starts to become a sliding scale.
Yeah. So, Tanner, can you throw up the chart from the tweet that I sent? So this basically has.
Where'd you send it?
Yeah, in the private chat and in the StreamYard.
Oh, gee.
It basically has everything that you were talking about, Steve, but it has it just in a color-coded chart, which makes it a little bit easier to read what we're saying.
Here, I got it here. Sorry. Just trying to get it in perfect view.
Yeah, so you can see on the left-hand side there the Fed meeting dates, and then whatever the rates are, what the probabilities will be, and with the color coding of, you know, blue and whatever that is, green or yellow, as the higher probability ones. And what you'll see is in May, on the May 1st meeting, the probability increases on the 500 to 525. It's 25%. And then that also increases the next month to 32.6% in June. And then the highest in July at 34%. So you can see the sliding scale that Steve is talking about around rates starting to be cut in the summertime or at the very start of Q2.
And look, at some point, the Fed needs to make a decision which side of their dual mandate is more important. Like, that's the biggest thing. You can't just try to play it down the middle every freaking month with this. And at some point, you're going to have to say, what are we going to favor? Do we want more people employed and have maximum employment? And maybe we need to live with 3% inflation, which really isn't that big of a deal compared to millions of people losing their jobs and tens of millions of people having a credit crunch because floating rate debt is increased and nobody can afford new mortgages because they're at 8-9%. Like, at some point, also, the amount of money that the US is spending on debt is almost as big as the military industrial complex now. Like, at some point, these guys got to sit there and say, okay, what's more important, our egos or the good of the country? Because I got news for everybody. 3% inflation, while it may sound scary, so you're paying $103 instead of $100. Like, that's, I would rather pay $103 than $100 and people lose their jobs.
Yes.
Like, we need to get past this whole inflation thing. And we need to look, inflation will come down eventually when you let the free markets work, because competition will bring prices down. It will.
Right. Yeah, look, I think the short-term fear is around the geopolitical conflicts, which drive oil up and then drive inflation up. But look, I think at the end of the day, you're going into an election year. There's no politician that wants to have a shitty economy going into an election, and that's going to put pressure on the Fed, right?
Nobody, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, nobody wants to go into an election with a bad economy or a restrictive economy. People want to go into an election with a booming economy.
That's one of the great things about having split branches, where the exec is one and the other houses are the other, or the house is the other. Yeah, you have incumbents running on both sides of the aisle, and so they'll do what they need to do to keep this thing going. And yeah, that they're going to have to cut probably sooner than they expect. I just hope it's not on after, you know, they actually break something in the economy, which they could. I'm with you though. I don't see a recession unless the Fed induces it, or, you know, World War III happens.
Look, the data doesn't, and look, like you just said, there's a lot of geopolitical conflicts that nobody has control over that could break out, and we could be in for a rude awakening. But putting that aside and trying to be optimistic, because war sucks, don't want anybody losing their life. When you look at the data that's in front of us, it doesn't look as if we're going into a recession unless the Fed absolutely does it. And if they do, it'll be the worst move that they make. I mean, you have so much debt coming due on commercial real estate. You're going to destroy the regional banking industry. You're going to have a roll up into not just the big five, but the larger regional banks. Smaller businesses are going to get screwed. Like, it is not good for the economy. And at some point, we need to take a step back and be like, maybe 20 people don't know more than a lot of different analysts and the collective wisdom of actual people in business. Like, at some point, we need to start thinking about, are we really doing things the right way? Because this doesn't make sense anymore.
Well, I honestly think there is like a real opportunity for soft landing. I don't think that the retail, like looking at retail consumer debt and these sorts of things, that they're going to last as long as the Fed thinks they are. I don't think we can stay high as long as they think, like as what that chart says, you know, for another year.
But you also can't just print money. Like, you can't print your way out of it. You need to have restrictive. Like, Janet Yellen,
but you also have to tell people that that's what's going to happen, so then they know to slow down themselves. Don't buy the newest iPhone. Like you need some sort of activity that has people a little bit worried that it's going to be that bad. That way, then they can actually pivot without people quite being already moving to make those, purchase decisions before anything's even changed. They can't have inflation start to rush back up after they say, you know what, things are fine.
I think that cuts both ways as well, because it becomes a vicious cycle where people won't spend because they know that times are tight, even though they might be able to afford, a little bit more discretionary spending. But the thing that I will say from a consumer
but it's not
sentiment,
happening though. People, we're
not
going,
yet.
we're going. Times are tight, and people are like, "All right, I'll put it on the card."
Okay, look, Tanner. I think from a consumer sentiment perspective, you won't see it, but when you do see it, it's too late, because it's, let's say, unsustainable right now for me to have the percentage that I pay on my mortgage, and I'm going net negative a little bit every single month, and it becomes a runway effect of how many months can I keep that up, and so you won't see it until it breaks, and then I'm screwed because my credit cards are maxed out. I have no debt. So, and then I am forced to start selling things. It's not like it's going to be a gradual decline. It's going to be flatline and then a cliff.
It's something like, and Stephen, I don't know if you've read up on this. This is just in Canada. I don't know what the statistic is in America, but in Canada, the percentage of mortgages in variable rates that are in negative amortization, the money won't even cover the interest on the payments, and so the interest that's overdue goes into the principal, is like 20% or something like that of people are negative amortizing mortgages right now.
So I did not read that, but I was going to say something about mortgages, because it is just infuriating when people say, well, the average interest rate has been 5% for the past 40 years. Yeah, okay. But at the same time, money markets back in the 80s were 17, 18%. It was a different era. Things did not cost as much, and you didn't have a period of free money. You can't go from a period of free money to the quickest hikes in 4 decades and then expect walls of debt, when they mature, to be able just to be financed at rates that are 4, 5, 6x. When companies built their models and they borrowed capital at 2 or 3%, they may not have figured in, I'm going to have to refi it 7 or 8%. And that is going to destroy small, medium-sized businesses. And that's not good. And it's not good for the economy. It's not good for the country.
The other thing I'll say, just to build on that, Steve, when people make this argument, oh, well, we had high rates before. Yeah, when you had high rates in the 80s or 70s, the federal debt servicing was negligible. Mm-hmm. And now it's just, you're in this death spiral where you can't get out from a federal level because of the high rates. It costs so much to service that debt.
Look, people may not like the idea, but when rates were low, issuing 50 or 100-year bonds and paying back all the high debt was probably the right move. And we need to start being smarter. And every time the Fed keeps rates like this, we are spending more money that we don't have. I mean, would you invest in a company that spends on their cost of revenue 6.2 trillion or 6.4 trillion, but they only generate 4.2 trillion in revenue?
Even Square isn't that bad.
Freaking crazy. And then 33 trillion in debt. I mean, you look at this, and just saying that you can just print your way out of it, or we can print our own currency, is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know what all the hate on Block is, by the way. I don't know.
Because their SBC sucks.
And CEO. Well, it's because of the CEO.
Roy, what about the stock-based compensation? What are you talking about? You're Palantir fan.
Relative to the industry.
Oh my God, deja vu, this shit again.
Palantir, we've had that discussion before. Palantir relative to the industry is normative as far as SaaS, and they're continuing to cut it. Block, they make promises, and they say we're working on it in the 40 rule of 40s. I mean, maybe they'll eventually get there. It's not an imperative, and it is abysmal for the industry. People criticize PayPal. Like I actually didn't understand that. I was like, have you not seen Square and some of the other players in the industry? They're like, look how high PayPal's stock-based compensation is. And compared to Adyen, yeah, it's high. It's an American
because it's more of a legacy player. That's why. People expect them to get it down
by that stock-based compensation when you're making billions of dollars in profit. When you're losing money, those executives don't deserve shit.
Yep.
Like, you make money for your shareholders, you deserve to reap the rewards. You lose money for shareholders, you do not deserve stock-based compensation.
We'll see what happens over the next 12 months, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see.
Yeah, like Elon was paid over $100 billion in his plan, but not a single soul complained because Tesla did over a 10x, and
That's very different. That's very different, though.
It's not different.
So-
How's
The
that
guy,
No, it was
the guy
performance-based
generated
stock
a
units,
very
and he
profitable
performed.
company. Tesla's an extremely profitable company. The guy earned his money.
So here's a fun experiment. Now,
It was
if
based on stock price, but yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was based on 3 metrics: stock price, revenue growth, and then net income growth.
Okay, sure. But okay,
So
fine.
a fun thought experiment. If whoever's elected, and this wouldn't happen, but they make a czar of, and they make it even more comprehensive as far as they put all of the economy under one CEO, anybody out there in fintech. Would you
don't
pick
say
Jack Dorsey?
Jack. Expand it. Expand it.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey wouldn't even be the top
Okay,
5.
any CEO out there, like that's fine. Like any CEO out there, who
Love
would you
it.
pick?
Okay. I know who my first pick is, and it's going to shock people.
Okay, wait. So I'm sorry, I missed the question. Who should run Block?
No.
No,
If
who
the
cares
next
about
president, they say,
Oh,
okay,
the next
we're in a real
president.
mess.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. We need basically a CEO of the country. In this case, it'd be a CFO, basically. But we could take any other leader from the private market. Who would you pick? Public market, rather.
Mine's going to be different than you three, so you three can go first because there's zero chance you guys are picking who I'm picking.
I mean, you guys can all guess mine.
I would say Tim Cook.
Tim Cook, the logistics manager.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Okay.
He's good at managing a
Next.
massive company.
Next.
I wouldn't want someone that's too crazy, outlandish, or too outspoken. Noda would cause a war. Elon Musk would cause a war.
Well, I mean,
Tevis, who do you got?
No, I got Elon simply because of. So I'm almost done finishing the Walter Isaacson biography, and
Jamie
it's just
Dimon would be another good one.
Jamie Dimon would be a good one. I think he is one of the most, if not the most, mission-driven CEO that I've ever encountered. And pairing that mission-driven attitude with this crazy tolerance for pain and working around the clock and just breaking all the problems down to first principle components, like just from the Isaacson biography, the way that they solve the problems on the Raptor engines, all the way to new Tesla models, all the way to like Neuralink, was how much of this stuff can we delete, and then what do we need to add back because we've deleted too much, like optimization on steroids. And I think that is something that just that way of thinking, paired with the work ethic, paired with a mission-driven attitude, would be, a good choice. Just remove.
Tevis, who's your number 2?
What?
Who's your number 2?
Oh, let me think.
It's unfair to do one. Tanner, you got another winner also. And then
I was just
Roy,
thinking
think
if
of
he's
2
talking
people.
about like just going for operational efficiencies, I was thinking Toby Lucky, to be honest. But
Yeah, I see in the comments Zuck. I think Zuck is also like a good one. It's really difficult for.
I want to know what the privacy
I don't like the man.
sort of privacy rules are made.
Roy,
in
who do you got?
Someone said Costco CEO, and I just thought about like immigration as a subscription service.
Jamie Dimon, I think. I mean, he has a clear pulse of the economy. The other thing is he has a way of executing while sounding incredibly bearish. And if you want a certain amount of optimism, but you want people to actually kind of second guess, okay, do I really want to spend like crazy and just run my budget? He knows how to run a budget. He's been working with a massive company for a long time, and he'd be an amazing fit. Second, actually, I don't think he would cause a war. You wouldn't give him those powers, and you would. But it's Anthony Noto. Like he's just an executor. He's very competent. He's very good at turning around things, pivoting, planning ahead, and really building a team and recruiting other excellent leaders, because you can't do this on your own. But Noto is just somebody I absolutely trust. Alex Karp. No,
Karp.
I love Alex Karp, but no, not as a CFO of the country. No.
Who is Jason Wong?
Jensen?
I think he means Jensen.
That's NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's no Jason.
You know what he meant.
It's a few letters off.
Somebody said Sam Bankman-Fried.
Ooh.
All right, so mine are going to shock you guys.
Okay. You're not good on audio. Like, there's a lot of people that listen.
Fine.
Like, they listen.
Okay, Barry Sternlich is number 1 for me. Ken Langone is number 2. Jamie Dimon number 3. Noto 4 and Peter Thiel 5.
Ooh, I
thought
forgot
Ray
about
Dalio
him.
would be on that list for you.
No, he's probably an honorable mention. Same way Ackman would be an honorable mention.
Yeah, Peter Thiel's good. Like I was not thinking of it. He'd actually be ahead of Noto for me.
Sternlich has been right the entire time for the past year and a half on inflation and everything on the economy. Guy's a stallion. I wish Langone would do something, and he's a huge donator of time. I wish he would donate time to the government and fix things.
I think that the only thing that I like, I don't know. I'm very right leaning for the most part, but I do think that there has to be some left leaning stuff. So whenever people start bringing up like capital managers, it's like there's nothing liberal about those guys. They would just be like budget, and that's no way to run a country. I think you kind of have to be a little bit for the people
Hard
as well.
disagree.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tevis, and I'll jump in. I want to know this.
Like the state of affairs in the U.S., you need to be at a place where you need to take your medicine at this point. You can't just have more spenders. The U.S. has a spending problem that, the U.S. is like shopaholics personified. They just spend their way, when they're stressed, they spend their way out of problems. It's just a mess. You cannot have a leader who panders to certain groups and who just spends even more. Sure, later on down the line, once the economy is fixed, sure, you can have more sort of liberal or left-leaning, let's say, leaders that will actually expand social programs and increase quality of life and all that stuff. But right now, the dire situation, the fire, so to speak, needs a strict budget control leader.
Yes. We need really is a Calvin Coolidge figure. And Coolidge stepped in after Warren G. Harding, and Harding had a lot of issues. And of course, yeah. But he had 7 years with the country, and the country was actually a mess, like if you're familiar with that history. It was post-World War I, large deficit. They had a massive number of people coming back from the military and lots of pensions and things that they needed to do. And they had a looming recession. And so he forced every single one of his government heads year after year after year to make cuts. And if they didn't make cuts, he would make it for them, and was just very efficient at allocating capital. And yet at the same time, the country, people are like, oh, this is going to ruin the economy. It's going to ruin the country. And we had instead the Roaring '20s, which at the time, it's not called this anymore. It was called Coolidge Prosperity, which, by the way, if you ever see me in the game, if you see somebody named Coolidge Prosperity, that's me. But no, we did have, the 1929 crash and the Great Depression, but we would have actually probably had a larger recession, except that, many of the cuts that he was able to do as far as the country and just allow the economy to correct itself. Herbert Hoover did the opposite. He used all these surpluses to and he had to take his foot off the neck a little bit. There was a need for that just because Coolidge was so severe to the point where they didn't even end up like paying and helping states with natural disasters, which is just, it's a little over the top. But
no, but that's what I mean. You kind of have to be that's why I wouldn't lead to capital allocators, because I think there would be like it's funny. I can see who's really, really right leaning in the chat, like whenever I bring that up, and they're like, "Oh, you're just gonna let criminals roam the city?" It's like, no, I'm not. Like I say, you kind of have to have a splash of kindness, and people are like, "Oh, so I guess we're going San Francisco all over again." Like, like I definitely am very.
A few things. One of them being, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a Democrat, but politics should not be a career.
Well, that's true.
How about we redo these things and say, okay, life expectancy is significantly longer than when these rules and criteria were written. How about you have to be 40 years old to run for office? You can't run for office after 65 once you get on Social Security, and you have to have experienced some type of life, some type of working in business and just working with people in general, and not trying to make your money being a career politician. It's ridiculous. You have people there in politics 40 or 50 years and they've done nothing. It's
So you're
crazy.
voting for Vivek?
I don't know who I'm voting for. Listen, there's not a candidate that I necessarily love. There hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
The entire system is so flawed too, because it's all like a representational democracy where you pick whoever your local people are, and then the DNC or RNC pick whoever they want, even though like you might really like Vivek and an entire generation of people might really like Vivek. He won't get picked because behind closed doors, the RNC is picking whoever their top runner is, and somebody who's more aligned with their views, who's probably more aligned with their age group, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And look, politics is such a dirty business that you have so many people that would be great that want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It all needs to change.
Well, and for all the guys that we talked about, like this would be a step down for them. Like not just because of monetary, like, who cares about that? They're already rich. But it's a real demotion and it's a thankless job. But there are many that milk the system and are in there for decades and decades and decades. That shouldn't be term limits.
And how
We need
about
that.
Lobbyists shouldn't be allowed? Like lobby
That's hard
groups
to
is
do.
Ridiculous.
That's really hard to do, though. Like it's under
so
the
hard
table.
to do, and I know you can't do it, but it is ridiculous that that's even a freaking thing.
Yeah.
But just like even looking at the net worths of these people, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if we're just like more well-read than the average person, or if everybody sees it but nobody acts. Like, who was that politician? Like Dianne Feinstein or whatever. She died like
married wealthy though,
and but like her net worth was okay. Sure, I'll give you another example. I just read this thing the other day. Like Trudeau's net worth before taking office and after taking office is like 100x. It was like 3.8 million, and now it's like 380 million. And you're just like, how does that happen in 8 years? Did you just make a couple of really lucky investments? Because I got screwed in the market. So.
But who's making that net worth calculation? Because obviously they're going based off of something. Like, is that not? Be transparent with your findings. Like, what are they basing that off of?
The point.
I'd be more skeptical of the person that's trying to get that number, because like, what are you talking about? Like, is there some trading that's going on that people don't know about? And if it's that private, how are you even aware of these findings?
Dude, there's a reason why.
Like, it's not like net worth is his bank account's not posted. It's a speculation.
Sure, but there's a reason why, and just to sort of bring it back. For the longest time, they wanted Trump's tax returns or Hillary's tax returns or whoever. Like tax returns becomes like a sticking point in a debate between these people. And it's like, well, you have to ask yourself, okay, why? Because obviously there's stuff there that the public won't like. If I'm paying 40% taxes or 50% taxes, and I see that, the politician or the president or whoever avoided all of theirs, like all of these things just point to the whole thing that Steve was saying around career politicians and the lack of trust that people have sort of reinforced in these politicians because of, if I go into office today and I leave office 100x wealthier, then you're like this must be a lucrative career or something must be going on. I'm not a public servant, that's for sure.
Oh wait, sorry. I want to make clear. Did you say Trudeau's net worth or Biden's net worth?
Trudeau's.
Okay. Because people are like, that sounds like Canada proud, like some in Trudeau blind trust. I am not a fan of Trudeau at all. This dude needs to go yesterday. So not that at all. I want to just because I don't believe in someone doesn't mean that I believe everyone that's on the opposite side of them. Like,
so Tevis,
and that's what's weird about this, the left or right. It's like if you're more right leaning, then you have to believe everything that party says is just absolute BS. Like, it's so stupid.
Well,
like if I believe in guns, you guys know what my opinions are on abortion and stuff.
No,
like, why does that make any sense?
True, because there's a lot of people that I know that like things about both political parties in the U.S. And there's a lot of people that are in the middle. I think you'd be surprised how many people are in the middle.
I'm in the middle.
Really do.
Yep.
But Tevis, I think we need to do like a full economic show one day because I have a whole tax proposal that I was working on. I'm probably going to redo it and send it to somebody in the government. We need to change our tax system also.
Why don't you just run, Steve?
No, I'm not doing it. There's no point.
Why?
It's a hassle. I get enough freaking agita being the president of my co-op board. Like it's a thankless freaking job, and it's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I can only imagine what these politicians go through. It's not easy.
And then you'd only get like 2 articles out on Seeking Alpha per week.
But as far as taxes, maybe we need to start thinking about a flat tax with no deductions, so everybody pays the same rate. If we're all getting one vote and we're all using the same municipalities, maybe we need a 20% tax rate with no write-offs. That way you make 50 grand, you're paying 10 grand taxes. You make 100 grand, you're paying 20 grand taxes. You make $100 million, you're paying $20 million into it, and nobody's avoiding anything. I mean, you can balance the budget pretty quickly by making very simple changes.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem around that, and like we've gone on like 10 tangents at this point, but
yeah, this should have been the SoFi after hours. I don't have a lot of time now.
Yeah, the other problem around that is that it's impossible to tax like the upper class because of all of the assets that they hold under the different trusts and different holding companies and all that.
And you put that aside. I'm talking about taxable income. And obviously, there's always going to be loopholes. You can never fix that because of trust, holding companies owning trust, all that stuff. Yeah, there's a ton of different ways to hide money. But for taxable income, and also when you get stock-based compensation, like you shouldn't be allowed to freaking borrow against that. That's a crazy idea. But that's another thing. That's another way you avoid taxes. But on actual income, having a flat tax is not a horrible idea. And then getting rid of state taxes, putting it into one pool, and doing a VAT tax on everything you buy the way Europe does.
So hold on, let me just put a pin in this. Do we want to flip over to the members only side, Tanner? It's like an hour 20 at this point.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, last question. I'm going to do one last question. I want every single one of you to answer it. I'll answer it as well. Stephen goes first. Which one doubles first? SoFi or PayPal?
Time frame?
First.
Which one first?
First. No, are we saying unlimited time frame, just whatever gets first, or are we saying by the end of the
by first, yeah.
So,
I think so. At this point, SoFi.
Well, SoFi has to hit 15, and then what? PayPal has to hit like 100, 110.
I just think there's more catalysts on the short term for SoFi to get there. Even if SoFi, it doesn't have to stay there, just hit. I think SoFi's got more catalysts, even if it doesn't stay.
It's much easier for SoFi to run because of the low float.
Yeah, it's SoFi easy. Low float, a lot of catalysts. And even when the narrative switches with PayPal, it's going to go up like it went down. A little bit more aggressively, depending on the macro, but it's going to take some time. It's not going to go up to 100 in like 3 days.
Steve, now that SoFi is $7.30 or whatever it closed today, are you still sticking by the $15 by end of year prediction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking it back.
Love it.
Honestly, I'm really I don't know. Like I think if transaction margins start to improve, if there is a quarter where things start to turn around, like for example, if interest rates start to fall again quite quickly, SoFi will benefit all right from a switch in products, but I don't think that it'll be nearly as dramatic as the switch to how many customers could sign on to PayPal, and how much that could increase transactional margins. And I think that might have a better fundamental change in the stock in the short term than SoFi, regardless of float, because I don't follow that as closely, and potentially you guys might be right, just the volatility of it, but
that makes a big difference. Yeah,
right. But I do actually think PayPal is based on one metric, where SoFi is mainly based on the entire company.
Yeah, you're right. Margins flip, narrative flips,
It'll
and
just
it starts
skyrocket.
going up. Like it'll have some down days or whatever, but it's just going to keep going and going just like it's been.
But like,
Yeah, if it goes back to
unstoppable.
60%, like it's over. Like
And
it'll double.
and like over on the other side, I've got like a post from X that kind of breaks down the positive and negative contributions to the margins if we want to look at that in a bit.
there's just no volatility on PayPal's side, man. Like we've had green days, and you have like Palantir up 5%, SoFi up 5%, PayPal's up 0.5%.
Sure. I guess mainly what I'm thinking about is sustainable a doubling. So maybe SoFi could hit like just on earnings up 30 something, like just immediately, and then the week to follow is just continuously all the way up to a double, and then maybe it falls. But I think that to a sustainable double,
like above a double
I
for
think
a month.
institutions can pour into PayPal if transactional margins increase.
Yeah, it'd be a closer. But yeah, I could definitely see like SoFi, like it does. Like it spikes really hard and then it comes back down. PayPal, once the narrative switches, when it doubles, like it'll stay around. Like it'll just, it's not going to just fall back down instantly. So it's more
The other
stable.
thing you have with PayPal is, and I've said this in the past, so it's not going to be new to some people, but people remember it being 120, 150, even $200. And market psychology is a very important dynamic. And it's the same methodology as a Tesla. When Tesla's down at 120, 140, and then it goes back to 250, 260, nobody's phased. Like if PayPal goes back to 200, I don't know if people are going to think it's so overblown because some people remember it at 280, 300.
I mean, come on, man. That's recency bias. Like, fuck, I remember Peloton over $100.
Yeah, no,
I don't think PayPal went back to over 100.
There's
PayPal's
a difference.
never going back to
Peloton
200.
doesn't make money. PayPal makes money hand over fist and is a huge company.
Yeah,
It's the same thing when Meta Platforms went down to 95. Everybody knew it was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think one of my articles came out saying it was ridiculous, like 98. It was under 100 that it came out. Like it was absolutely ludicrous. And once again, that went back up to 190. Nobody thought it was crazy, and now it's back over 300. Nobody thinks it's crazy. Like there are certain companies that the recency bias doesn't hold up to. There are some companies that legitimately people are okay with trading. I'm not saying PayPal trading at 250, people wouldn't think it's overvalued, but trading at 120, 150, I don't know that you really get a huge amount of people saying this is overvalued. Let's go short it.
I think people are just looking at more than just the fundamentals. I think they're taking into the account of like are people going to be using PayPal, or are they going to be switching over to Apple Pay, or like I think they're kind of being attacked at all fronts, where Meta really never was. There was a little bit of issue that people thought that people were going to be leaving Facebook because no one was really using it. But then, I mean, honestly, WhatsApp growth and Instagram are just blowing up so fast that it just picks up the slack. Venmo's not really doing that right now for PayPal. So I think there is still some concerns. If it starts to pick up again, I think those concerns are alleviated. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, people are right.
Older people, such as myself, who is just straight up lazy and trust the PayPal brand. I'm not switching to another company if I'm making a transaction on the web and I don't want to put my credit card number in. I'm going to use PayPal because I already have it. I'm not signing up for another thing.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it makes the sticky client stickier. Tevis, go be with your dad, brother.
Yeah, I got some drinking to do. So thank you for
because
this.
You and I have to have a conversation at some point.
Not tonight, sir.
Not tonight, but we have to have a conversation.
You have to build his computer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, y'all.